Okay, welcome to Therefore Technical eWorkshop, and good afternoon and good morning to all of you. Okay, today our topic is access, therefore without VPN. So thank you for joining us early for those who actually come earlier. So we start at 2 p.m. Singapore time and 4 p.m. Australia time, and of course 8 a.m. Europe time. Okay, so for those who are joining us, that I'm going to bring you through on how to send the chat to us, the message. Okay, you have anything that would like to talk to us, you can send your message to the chat. And then you have any technical questions that would like us to answer you, please post on the Q&A. So let me introduce myself. I'm Choi Gik. My surname is Siu, Choi Gik Siu. I'm the business development for Asia. And then I have another host with me, which is Adele. She's business development from ANZ. And Walid is our speaker of today. He's a pre-sales engineer. So let me share with you what are the things I would like to cover. So today in this workshop, you will learn the tips and tricks of accessing a Therefore on-premise system without a VPN, perhaps from your home or even from you're working remotely. So a lot of people actually ask us, how can we achieve that? So that's why we wanted to share with you, how could you do that? So this technical workshop will cover the following. What is a DMZ? When do you need a DMZ? And how and what services do you need to install on a DMZ? And how to manage security on a DMZ? So these are all the things that we are going to cover within this 1 hour. And I hope that you're able to learn from Walid, and so that you're able to bring this back to your office and also share this information with your colleague and also with your customer. So over to you, Walid.
Hello everyone, I hope you are doing great. Okay, let me share my screen. Shoge, can you just give me the
permission?
Right,
sure.
Yeah. Perfect, share the screen. No. Okay, can you see my screen?
Very clear.
Okay, perfect. So let's begin. Before started, a little introduction about this topic. The main goal during this webinar is to know how to set up a VPN-free environment that allow external access to Therefore without security risks. Okay, so there is two ways of work today. You can work from office or from home office. From office, you have access to hard copy and direct access to technology. Paper can be transferred from desk to desk, and the employee talk face to face. And on home office, there is only access to digital copy, virtual meeting, and you need to have an office infrastructure via cloud, VPN, or DMZ. Okay, so our topic today is for home office normally, or to access from external into the office. Okay, there is three ways. There is a cloud infrastructure like Therefore Online. There is a VPN connectivity if you want to access to your Therefore system via VPN, or you can also access to your server, to your system via distributed systems and with DMZ, of course. Here is the global settings you have to make. Okay, so there is a DMZ layer in the middle. It is located behind the infrastructure firewall and provide an access point between the Therefore system and the internet. You can communicate via HTTPS. Of course, you can do it via HTTP, but it is more secure to do it via HTTPS. And when the external client will communicate with the DMZ will just do a share of data from the application layer where there is your Therefore and from the DMZ. So the DMZ, just for you to know, it is a demilitarized zone, and it is a subnetwork that is separate and isolated from the local network by a firewall. This subnet contains machines that can be accessed from the internet. This is the particular architecture, and it is using to prevent any security risk, because all your system will be accessed via external if you don't have any DMZ. Okay. About the application layer, just a little brief. You have an application layer, and inside the application layer there is therefore a core installed here, and you can also have the database layer directly inside the application, inside the server application, or you can have both. One server for the therefore and one server for the database. It is as you want, but if you have a lot of access to the database, it is better to have a server just for the database. Okay. And about the storage, also sometimes all the storage are directly inside the buffer, and there is no primary storage or backup storage, but it is recommended to have those kind of infrastructure. Okay, now you know what we will talk about distributed server system, and the main topic will be the DMZ. So let me talk about what you have to install and what service you need to install. So here, as you can see, you have to install those services. The mobile manager is not mandatory now because it was for the last mobile application. Now there is therefore Go, and therefore Go communicate via XML, so you don't need to install mobile manager. You can also have the portal installed on the DMZ, and of course you need to install Microsoft IIS to have an access to the web access and to the eForm and the new web client, web access, etc. Okay, how the installation work? So there is a requirement. You need to have the last version of IIS on the DMZ. The user, you will see, we have to create two users, and the two users must have a strong non-expiring password. And the Windows update must be applied on all servers. So on the DMZ, on the application server, so therefore server, and on the database if you have a separate database server. So about the user one. The user one is created for the DCOM communication between the two systems, because, let me just come back quickly. Here, as you can see, the communication from the DMZ to the application is done via DCOM. Okay, so you have to configure this DCOM way of this DCOM communication between the DMZ and the application layer. Okay. So you have to create a user one on the DMZ and therefore server with the same password. Okay. Again, the password must be strong and non-expiring. From the DMZ, user one must be a member of administrator group, and from therefore server, user one must be a member of distributed COM user group, users group, and of course from therefore solution designer, user one must be a member of therefore user group with the correct right. Okay, because you need to have the right to read, write, classic right for a user. You have to create a second user, user two. Just for you to know, I use user two like this, but you can write therefore user two or therefore user. It is not mandatory to have this exactly word for the users. It's exactly name for the user. Okay, you can use the name you want, but just try to remember the user you will create is using for one part and another user is using for another part. Okay. For the user 2, you have to create this user on Therefore server, only Therefore server. And from Therefore server, user 2 must be a member of distributed com user group, administrator group, and from Therefore Solution Designer, user 2 must be a member of Therefore admin group with the correct right again. And from the SQL server, you need to add user 2 to the security for database server. You need to add user 2 to the database login for Therefore database, and you need to add the permission control for the user 2 to Therefore database. So just let me show you quickly what you need to do. Here, you have to add your user. So this is my database. Let me Okay, here. So the first is here. You have to create a new connection and add your user 2. After that, you need to go in your database, in your Zephyr database, add in the security the user 2. And the last thing is in the property of the Zephyr database, in authorization. Sorry, it isn't in French, but I think you will know where am I. You need to add the control to the user 2. Okay, so control need to be allow for the user 2, and that's it. The user 2 don't need to be a DB owner of this database, etc. Okay. About the question, at the end of each topic, I will try to read the question and to answer. If I don't have the answer because it is something I don't know, I will prepare at the end of this webinar the question answer, and I will add this to the video. Okay. Let's continue a little bit. Now we have created user 1 and user 2. We have to set the installation of Therefore on the Therefore server and Therefore DMZ. So when you install the setup of Therefore into Therefore server into Therefore server, you have to install Therefore core, Therefore server, Therefore administrator, and Therefore use. Therefore use is Therefore navigator, etc. You don't need to install Therefore Connect and Therefore Integrate because you are on the server. And Therefore Connect is all the XML, etc. But the XML will be accessed from the DMZ, so you don't need to install it. Okay. About the services, just the Therefore server service must be run by the user 2 account, but Therefore conversion service and full text indexing service must be run by a local account. And last thing, if SQL server is located on a different server, the Therefore full text indexing services must be run by the user 2 account. Okay, so just change this one by user 2 if you have a database, a server for the database. About the DMZ, you have to install Therefore core. You don't have to install Therefore server. If you install Therefore server, it will not work. You have to install Therefore Connect. This is all the connection with the XML, the MFP, etc. You have to install Therefore use with Therefore Navigator because you need to test the connection between the DMZ and the Therefore server. So you have to install Therefore Navigator, and that's it. Okay. And from the DMZ, the Therefore web service and Therefore XML web service must be run by user 1. And if you have the MFP, you want to use the MFP manager, you need to use the same account for the MFP manager service. Okay, for Therefore MFP manager service. Okay, let's see the question before going to the configuration. Yeah, at the end we will add the PowerPoint and the video into our extranet. Okay, Shogek already. Okay, it is a requirement to use SSL. It is not a requirement, but it is recommended. Okay. Okay, let's continue configuration. So each time you have to do a configuration, I just write on the top on which server you have to do this configuration. So about the DCOM, you have to do it on Therefore server. So you have to open the component services and add the correct permission. So just to show you where it is and what you have to do, here is my virtual machine. So I will close this because it is this one. Again, it's in French, but you will understand very easily where am I. So you have to open the component services. And in the component services, just deploy this one computer. And here, this is a local computer. And in the configuration, DCOM configuration, there is somewhere, if I type T, therefore, server, this one. So for therefore server, you have to go in the properties, and there is security here. You have to personalize the authorization to launch and execute, and modify and add the user from a DCOM model. And these users must have all the authorization for local execution and remote execution and local activation and remote activation. Okay, so please check all the authorizations for the user from DCOM model. Okay, distributed DCOM model. Okay, let me, if I, okay, like this, perfect. After that, again, on Therefore server, you have, so if the architecture requires static endpoint used by DCOM, you need to enter the port you have opened in your firewall for DCOM here. So I will show you where. And it is also necessary to open the port 135 in the firewall. So let's come back in my virtual machine. If I, here. So here there is endpoint, and in the endpoint on the same thing on Therefore server here, you have to add, and here you have to put the port you will use. Okay, and click on OK, and that's it. Nothing else. Okay, let me come back to my PowerPoint if I can. There it is. Okay, now we will talk about Therefore DMZ. So for the DCOM, the same configuration on Therefore server, the same thing we have just seen before. You have to write the server name and check run application on the following computer, because of course Therefore server will be run on the server on the Therefore server. Okay, again, let me show you. So if I am on my DMZ, I have to go here on the properties, and in the location here, I have to select execute the application on the computer and write the name of the computer. You can, of course, go and search your computer if the connection is correctly set. You have to disable SSL 2.0. So from the DMZ, you have to go in the registry, and in HK local machine. So on the bottom, you have the path where you have to disable this. So HK local machine system, current control set, control security provider, it's channel, protocol SSL 2.0 server, and there is enabled here. and it can be 1 here. The value can be 1. If it is the case, just double click on the enabled and change to 0. Okay? When this is done, you have to restart the server afterwards. Okay? Now, as I said, you can use the HTTP, but the best way is to use the HTTPS. And there is several steps to do to use the HTTPS. Okay? First, install, of course, the server certificate according to the instruction of your certificate provider on the DMZ. Okay? After that, you have to configure the IIS and the default website from IIS. So let me again show you where it is. Okay, here. I will open IIS here. Yeah, perfect. So here there is your IIS default website, and if you right click, you have changed the bindings, and here you can add the bindings you want. You need to select HTTPS, put a name, and here you have to select the certificate you have installed. Okay, so you can select and search your certificate and click on OK. Okay. So this is a mandatory step if you want to use HTTPS. Let's continue. If you want to use the MFP manager with the HTTPS, you have to edit the MFP manager.exe.config and set use standard XML port to 1, file port to 8091, use HTTPS value to 1, set start value to my, set log to local machine, set print to value to the thumbprint of the certificate, and leave default domain commented or remove if it's not required. Just about the thumbprint of the certificate. If you want to know where is the thumbprint of the certificate, let me show you where to find this. Let's come back here. So the first thing is to write MMC and execute the mmc.exe. Okay? When you will execute mmc.exe, you will have something like this. Okay? So first, you need to add the certificate menu in order to find your certificate. For that, go in File, add component, and select Certificate, Add. Okay? You add the certificate from a local computer, Next, and Finish. And you can click on OK. And you will have the certificate menu appear. And now go in Personal, Certificate, and you have your certificate. So I have installed this one, I think. Yeah. And just after that, if you double click on the certificate, you have your certificate appear, and in the detail, there is here, this is thumbprint. Just copy this. Be careful, you need to delete all the space in that thumbprint, okay? So no space, and copy this into your MFP file, okay? This is how to find the thumbprint of your certificate. Okay, let's continue. HTTP to HTTPS redirection. So there is one thing you have to install if you don't have an access to this menu. It is a URL rewrite from Microsoft, so you can find it on the IIS site or on Microsoft sites. And if you do that, you have to create an inbound rule, the inbound rule from your default website. And the inbound rule, you can write what you want, but redirect to HTTPS is a good name for this. You have to select match the pattern regular expression and use this pattern. And there is the condition and the action. For the condition, you have to select match all, input HTTPS, match the pattern, and this pattern. Okay? And about the action, you have to select redirect, use this redirect URL, and select append query string, and see others. Okay, and this is again on therefore DMZ side because it is the IIS you have to configure here. And that's it. When this is done, we will check if everything is okay, if everything works. Okay. So before that, let's see if there is question. No question for the moment here. And let me see here. Okay. Okay. Do you record? Okay, no question. Just asking for the record. So just for you to know, it is recorded and it will be shared on the extranet. Okay, on the extranet. So when everything here is done, normally it should already work. Okay, how to test if everything work from the DMZ and from the server and from external side. Okay, so first you have to save a document from Java Web Access. So again, from external side, try to save a document from Java Web Access. So you can use, of course, the old the classic web access or the new web access. Okay. After that, you have to retrieve the document saved from Java Navigator. So again, you can install Java Navigator from external side and just try to retrieve a document saved. And if the MFP is configured, test the MFP connection to the DMZ with the port 8091. This port is set on the MFP manager config. You remember where there is a thumbprint, there is also the port. Here. About the security check. So just, I will not talk about the security because it is something you have to set on your Zephyr server. It is not just the DMZ, it is also your Zephyr server. So just read the Zephyr security white paper to be sure that the security is set up correctly. We just saw how to configure the HTTPS or the security on the DMZ, but you also have to put a strong security on your Zephyr server. Okay, like correct account, no one have an access to the backup and to the primary storage, but that's logical. Okay. And the last check to be sure everything works perfectly. So about Therefore Solution Designer, you have to check the connection via HTTPS if you have created an HTTPS connection. You have to create a new group user and you have to design category workflow if everything works. So the Solution Designer part works perfectly. If you have the Zephyr Capture client, you have to test the scanning via Zephyr Capture client. You have to test the MFA integration. We already talked about this. About Zephyr integration, you have to test the Windows Explorer integration. So right-click, send to Zephyr, and just see if everything works. And also test Microsoft Office integrations. Open a Word or an Excel file and test if you can save using the add-in of Microsoft Office. You have to retrieve and view documents, so try to do it via Zephyr Navigator, via the MFP device, and via Zephyr Web Access, okay? And the last check is you have to test cross-category search, full text search, and index search. So via Zephyr Navigator or Zephyr Web Access, okay? You have to test the workflow, so try to approve an invoice or approve a document, not an invoice, not necessary. Mobile device, so with Therefore Go, you have to try if everything works perfectly via Therefore Go. And so via Zephyr Navigator, Zephyr Web Access, and Zephyr Go. You have to test email notification. So if you receive correct email in the workflow, okay. About the migration, you can run a migration and retrieve the document from the final media. If you have a backup and a primary storage, just try this. For the backup and primary storage, you have create an account, and you have just to put the administrator right to the account and the right on the backup and on the primary storage. Okay. And just for you to know, I didn't talk about the multi-tenant environment, but you can find all the information about the multi-tenant environment on the white paper. Okay. And the last is the redirection. Make sure the HTTP to HTTPS redirection is still working, so you can see setup HTTP to HTTPS redirection on therefore DMZ, and change therefore user password to see if everything works perfectly when you do a change like this. And that's it. If all the checklists are okay and are checked, your DMZ is correctly configured, and you can now access via external access, like my computer want to access to my therefore corporation office. I can use the link to the DMZ, and the DMZ will communicate with my therefore server to give me the documents and the data I want, and I can do everything like I use my own server or a direct connection to my therefore server. So just the sources I use is, so all the explanation see in this webinar can be found on the extranet via the white paper best practice for distributed server system. Of course, there is more information because I talk about how to configure the database, how to, the topic today was how to configure DMZ, so a VPN-free environment. So there is not all the information from this document, but there is some information from this document. Okay. Okay. Let's see if you have any question. Okay. You record. Okay. I will just wait a little bit because I don't see any question. But if you have any questions,
we have a question that which is sent to me privately.
Okay.
Can I use a Win client as a DMZ layer?
Can you repeat? Sorry. Can I? Sorry.
Can I use a window client?
Yeah.
As a DMZ layer.
Oh, no. Okay. No, you have to use a server for the DMZ layer. It can be a client, because a client cannot contain an IIS, for example, and there is a lot of trouble thing if you use a Windows client. I'm not sure it is possible, but no, just use a server for this part.
Okay, I have another question over here.
Yeah.
Okay, let me read it out. Is there any kind of conditional access to make sure that the external clients are secure? Is there any kind of conditional access to make sure that the external clients are secure?
That's a good question. In fact, if you use a DMZ, the DMZ normally is not in the domain. So if you can access from external access via HTTPS to your therefore using the DMZ IP or the DMZ access, normally there is nothing else, to check about the security, because the DMZ is here between two firewalls just to protect your therefore environment. Okay, so for me there is nothing else. But let me just try to find a better answer if I find something, and I will add this at the end of the video in the record session. Okay?
Sure, no problem. I have another question over here. Is this a requirement to use SSL?
You have to add a certificate and create the HTTPS configuration as I show, but except that, no, just do the configuration as I show.
Okay, so basically there's a requirement to use it. Right, another one which is what do we key in for the connection setting in Navigator? Once everything is done, configured, and you have done the final check.
Okay.
So yeah, so what do they need to key in? Yeah.
Yeah, in order to access to your therefore, you have to put the. So let me show you. If I understand well the question, let me open my therefore. Not here. I will open my main therefore navigator. So if I understand well, you want to know what you have to put inside the option inside here, the server connection. So
Violet is a bit small on your screen. Is it okay to make it slightly bigger?
Let me try. Is it? Oh, in fact, that don't. Okay, let me try to change my. Okay, I know what I will do. It's not really clean, but I will do this. Okay. Okay. Oh no. I'm not sure I can. Or maybe on my virtual machine.
Okay, I think it's okay. We can zoom. Yeah, we'll just zoom ourselves.
Okay. So in this part, so you have to put the internet connection because you will use the XML web service access, not the DCOM. And in the internal, therefore, XML web service, you have to put the, of course, the IP or the name of your DMZ in order to access to your DMZ environment. If you put here the therefore address, it will not work because the XML web service is not installed. At the beginning, I just said don't install the therefore connect part on the server side. So if here you put the therefore information, therefore server information, it will not work. It will only work if you put the DMZ information here. Okay.
Okay. Looks like we don't have any more questions to answer. Everything seems good now. For those who have any other questions, you may post it to the Q&A. I guess all of you have a very clear understanding of what Valit has shared with you. And again, I'd like to assure you that we have recorded this session, and then the PowerPoint and also the recorded workshop will be uploaded to our extranet. So as long as you have an extranet account to access, you can download it to just review it when you needed to configure again by yourself. So if you do not have any further questions, probably Valit, do you have anything else to share with them?
No, just if you have any other question, please don't hesitate to send me or send to the pre-sales team the questions, and we will be more than happy to answer you, of course.
Okay, I think there's another last question before we end the session. Sorry about that. Right. In the event if the therefore server is in DMZ from the client, how to log out from the navigator using single sign-on?
The therefore user must be not in the DMZ because it is useless to add the therefore server on the DMZ. There is no benefits. You have to put the therefore server on one port, and the DMZ will be another part. Okay, it's two different servers, not the same. Okay, so if you use DMZ, and there is a lot of things like you can access to the domain user because the DMZ is not in your local network and cannot access to those kind of information. So in fact, you don't have to log. You can't do anything with this architecture. Okay, please, just as I show you on the top, on the first slide, this one here. Please use the DMZ as a here. Where is my here? So please use the DMZ as one server and the layer as one other server. So therefore server service here, and therefore web access, XML web service, etc. on the DMZ, not the two on the same. Okay. You can of course have the application layer and no DMZ, but if you have no DMZ, you will not be able to access to your therefore server via external access, even except if you use the VPN connection, of course. But here the subject is how to access to your therefore server without VPN connection.
Okay, I think it's very clear that it has to be a two different server so that we can achieve what we wanted to we mentioned earlier on, which is to access the therefore on-premise without the VPN connection. So I have another one more question over here, which is, can I use the domain administrator account instead of the user 1 or user 2 shown in your guide?
No, because the DMZ will not have an access to your domain environment. So the administrator domain will not be seen on the DMZ. I talk about the user 1. For the user 2, yes, because the user 2, as you have seen, is just to get the administrator right and to have a service account, okay? But for the user 1, you have to create one local user on the DMZ and one local user on the application, on the therefore server. Okay?
All right. Okay, thank you so much for all the answer. I think we have already covered whatever you have posted on the Q&A site. So thank you so much for all your questions. I think it's a very, very a good question that we have received from you. And once this session is over, and we will share your recorded session, and so that you can again review it to check what are the things that you have missed out. Probably you may have you may have heard wrongly that you wanted to review again. So that will help you to do so. Okay, thank you so much, Vali, for sharing these important topics with us. I think all of us have learned a lot from this session. And thank you so much for all your participation. So probably I would just, the last thing from my end, I would just would like to say thank you to all of you by sharing my screen. Right. Okay, so believe that you can see my screen now.
No.
Okay. Right. So we have covered all the topics that we have mentioned earlier on an hour ago. So we have covered almost. In fact, we have covered everything over here. We also have answered all the questions that you have posted. So thank you so much for all your participation, and let's stay stronger together. See you again next time. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much. Have a nice day. Goodbye.
Have a nice day. Bye-bye.